My first introduction in person to Josh Utterlayton was watching him play. My roommate at the time, this is a long time ago in a PTQ, Matt Benjamin, and I remember walking over and like, wow, Matt's gonna win this round easily. Like his opponent doesn't even know how to shuffle. Like Josh is like kind of awkwardly like picking up his cards and just like mashing them together, and then like they're like falling all over and probably bending them, and then he beats Matt easily because Josh is just great at Magic. And it turns out that 10 years later, he's gotten much better at Magic. He was already good and he's just gotten better and better and better. His shuffling skills I think have gotten worse somehow, which I don't understand how that works. But if you ever see a feature match, of Josh shuffling, it's a sight to behold. Like it's surprising he gets the deck presented with all the cards in it. So I don't know. Josh Utterlayton deserves to be in the Magic Hall of Fame. He does not deserve to be in the Shuffling Hall of Fame.
So one of my favorite Magic memories is making the top 4 of Worlds in San Francisco alongside Luis, Paulo, and Conley. It was amazing having all 4 of us into the top 8. And what was especially cool is that like my parents were there and Luis's parents were there. Like our whole families showed up because we lived right in the Bay Area, and so they came to cheer us on. And then all of us just lost like immediately, very, very quickly. And so we had a lovely dinner going, or not even dinner, it was early in the day, but we went out to a meal just like lost in like, minutes or whatever our matches, and then got to go with our family and have a tilt dinner and just eat food and be upset of our poor luck after, of course, crushing the tournament and making top 8 and getting very lucky to do so. But it was quite the experience having all of our families there for that meal.
So I want to talk about Ben Stark and my relationship with him. Ben and I are 2 people that like to argue a lot. If you were friends with either or both of us, you know that we never back down for an argument, and we often argue for arguing's sake, about something that has absolutely no relevance to anybody, like, the universe or, galaxy and things like that. And we argue constantly. And because we both have this profile, we often end up in opposite sides of the argument, and then the argument just never ends. But for us, that is not really a problem because we like doing it, but everyone else around us hates it. And they're like, please just shut up, after we've been talking about the universe for 1 hour, so that no one cares about LO and we're both very loud. And then people seem to think that because we do this constantly, we're not friends. But I think it's kind of like the opposite, because for both of us, it's just about the argument, it's never personal. So even if I say something like, Ben, you're so stupid, how can you possibly think that? And he goes, you're being so irrational right now, I can't believe this. And then 5 minutes later, we finish the argument, we're like, okay, we disagree, whatever, we finally give up. And it's like, let's go eat. Just like, yeah, let's do that. So he's someone that I enjoy spending time with, even if perhaps he makes me waste too much of my time arguing things that don't matter. But yeah, if you were to look at this from an outside perspective, you'd think, oh wow, those 2 guys hate each other. And we really don't. We really like each other. So.
Okay, well, I've been teammates with Martin Yuza for a long time in a lot of different capacities. And I think my favorite is we were playing for top 8 in a team limited, well, for top 4, but you get the point, in a team limited Grand Prix. And I don't really give or receive help very well in game. It's not that I don't like for people to criticize me, I love it, but just I tend to tunnel on what I'm doing. So I'm not very good at paying attention to the other matches, and if you start telling me stuff while I'm playing, I lose track. So when me, Martin, and Shuhei were a 3-person team, and like I said, we're here playing for top 4, we had a match where I was in the hardest match you could probably ever see. It was like 1 million permanents on each side of the board, but I still had a bunch of cards in hand, a bunch of mana. And Shuhei had already finished his match, and Martin was still playing. And Martin had out some rare 8-mana dragon that when it attacked made other dragons. So he was in the easiest match you could ever see. He was attacking his opponent with a 6/6 or 8/8 or whatever it was and making copies of it. And I'm just knee deep in the hardest game of Magic you've ever seen. And so Shuhei walks directly over to Martin. Shuhei sits in the middle because we consider him the best player. He knows what's going on in both matches. He sees what's going on in both matches, and he goes and sits next to Martin to help him and leaves me alone. And for 3-4 years now since then, Eric Froehlich's been trolling about that because I was in like the hardest match ever, and Martin was just closing it out. But it really had nothing to do with me or Martin's play skill, even though that's what everybody assumes and teases Martin about, in that situation. It was really just our team strategy was basically Martin and Shuhei love to discuss every play and play, together, and I'm just like, leave me alone, like I'm on an island or whatever. Don't expect help from me and don't give me any, But there's been a lot of jokes about that match, mostly from Eric Froehlich.
I don't actually know Sigurd that well, because he started playing way before I did, and we haven't really been a part of the same team. This is the first time. And I know he's a great player. He's a really cool guy. He's really friendly, and he plays really well, and he plays a lot of Magic. So he's a really good addition to the team, and I'm really glad he's a part of the team.
So before I ever met Paulo, we started testing together for Pro Tour Fate Reforged, and it was a modern Pro Tour. And I didn't know him very well, he didn't know me very well. And I remember I was, good friends with Jacob Wilson at the time, and we had the same flight over to California. We were actually testing at Tom Martell's house. And I remember we decided to fantasy draft just our team, just the face-to-face and ChannelFireball conglomerate at the time. And I remember, names kept coming off the list, and Paulo was like towards the end. We just assumed, he hasn't won in like a year and a half. Maybe he just can't play anymore. And then when I actually got in the testing house with him, I was like, wow. One of the, truly few people that I just knew were, playing circles around me or just 2 steps ahead of me. And, now to this day, there's, Roma 17 of the best players in the world in there, and I'd still probably take him over every one of them if we did another fantasy draft like that.